Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny back at you again. Welcome to DFS Zone. I'm going to be going over today's 10-game slate in the association. But before I get started, I appreciate you guys drop a like. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of this upcoming 10-gamer tonight, as well as if you have not subscribed to the channel, you want to get your NBA information, some advice, some tips, maybe some game stacks, and of course some selections on possibly helping your lineups. Consider subscribing. It is totally free, so make sure you subscribe before you go. Don't forget also to put on your notification bell. This way you won't miss out on any of the upcoming videos. All right. Today I'm going to be doing things a couple of things differently. I've been taking quite a bit of time, so what I'm going to do is, I don't know if it's going to be any faster, but I'm going to probably go with this format. And for those who do watch, if you find this format to be better or in some way, let me know, because I'm obviously the most important thing for me is to try to make it as comfortable for you guys as well as easy for me to be able to give you the information that I would like to give you. So I'm thinking of going through the positions, giving you my selection that I'm looking at, and of course at the very end come back and discuss each position again and let you know who I like in given games as far as possible plays for those positions. And I also would like to make the last segment of the day if I have any interest in game stacks, give you a couple of game stacks. Today I do have maybe 2, possibly 3 that I'm going to have an interest for. So I'll share those with you and some of the players I think will be in that stack. So make sure you stick around for the entire video. But let me know what you think in the comment section if you like this format. I'm going to try to find the best possible format to get through the 20-25 minutes, as much as 30 minutes of a video, but that I'm giving as much information as I can to help you guys out, okay? All right, so we're going to get right to the top. So at point guard today, the one guy I have, there's 2 guys that I'm really eyeing at point guard right now in the top portion of the brackets here. And obviously these guys, there's a lot of guys in play. I'm going to come down to, at point guard, I'm coming down to Russell Westbrook today. Now Russell's right here. So Russell, 8,400 folks. You need about 41, 42, and the only reason I am putting Russell right now, and this is tentatively, like I've said before, watch the news. This is whatever I give you right now. It's not for certain that I'm playing it. I'm going to do what I can to comment in the comment section below before lock, before 7:30. I'm going to try to get on and comment and let you know what my latest selections would be. Good. Sometimes 80% of the time I stay with the guys that I mentioned in the video, but some of the ones that I mentioned within the video, some of them get switched. So that's the whole thing. So it's very important to watch the news. Right now, the important news is Anthony Davis. Watching the game last night, he tweaked his knee late. He even played through it in the late fourth quarter as well as in overtime. He played over 40 somewhat minutes, probably 44, 45 minutes. What are the chances of him playing today? In the past, he will not play back-to-backs, especially if he tweaked his knee. I doubt very much he's probably going to be sore. I doubt very much he's going to play today. If he does not play, obviously Westbrook is in play, and it'll be the first time this year that I've selected a Laker, and it's probably the right thing to do when you're thinking about the Los Angeles Lakers with the three monsters, with the three-headed monsters there. You really are looking for one of them to go down so that you could possibly find some value in adding one of the other superstars. And this today could be the day for Westbrook. So I like Westbrook here at 8,400. And this is also definitely a play for me. If LeBron is out as well, then definitely Westbrook is a lock for me as far as at this price tag and what he can possibly do for the Lakers today and what he's going to need to do. So Russell Westbrook can play at 8,400. He's coming in here playing fairly well as of late. Almost 17, 18 points a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, pretty much close to 9 assists a game. You know he is a double-double, triple-double. Almost every night he is capable of doing it. Obviously, it's going to be very tough for him to score and ball out. He had a monster game last night, 33, 10, and 8 with no LeBron, 63 fantasy points. These are the things that he can possibly do when there's one of these guys out, because he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to have to really take over the game, slash and dash, try to hit a couple of big shots. So, and of course, dish the ball and rebound and do all that physicality, which he is very good at. As you can see, his defense is still pretty good. He always has a tendency of turning over the ball because he gets a little careless with his passes. But overall, he is pretty solid, playing over 36 minutes. he has been fantastic. Looking at what he has done against OKC in the last 2 games, 63.7 fantasy points in that game. The game before that, 52.7. Again, this is when he was with another team, 37 minutes a game. His usage was 31% in those 2 matchups, and he took 21 shots on average on those games. So if he could avoid, with the personal fouls, he has a tendency of doing it. If he can avoid that and not get himself in a personal foul situation, get on the court, and if there's no AD, I think he is definitely someone you got to consider. OKC is coming in here allowing 42.2 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards and 23 points per game from the floor. Okay, so they up there in the top 10, 12 as far as one of those teams that are very vulnerable against good point guards. Okay, so I like Russell Westbrook there. I will come back in a little bit later and discuss some of the other point guard options that you may have here today that I have an interest for. Okay, we're going to go right over to shooting guard. At shooting guard at the top, you got Paul George, Jimmy Butler. I'm going to come down to Fred VanVleet. Okay, 7,700 for Fred VanVleet is a very good price. Whenever you can get him at under 8, that is, for me, that is a little bit of a bargain price. He has 50-point upside. He's here at 7,700. You need pretty much 37 from him. He's finally starting to find his range. He's had a 37, 33, and 45 in his last game. Had a double-double, 15 points, 17 assists. Brings you some defense. He's capable of getting you rebounds and assists. He can do a little bit of everything. He is the key component offensively for the Toronto Raptors, especially now that there's no Kyle Lowry. His last 2 games as far as shooting, his shooting's been up. As you can see, he struggled in the first game and a half. But since then, the last 2 games, 46% shooting. But he has to improve with his 3-point shooting. When he can start burying the 3-pointers, his fantasy point totals are going to go up even more. He's going to be able to put more points up per game. And, of course, he's going to get more opportunities because they're going to feed it to him. His usage rate, last 2 games versus Indy, he put up a 47.8 and a 42 spot, playing 35 minutes a game. He averaged a 23% usage rate in those 2 games. He also took about 17 shots per game and scored 23 points per game in those last 2 meetings against Indy. I do like him here. I think his price tag is a little low, and I think that he has an opportunity here to get you 45, 50. He's good for 50 or better. If he gets hot with the 3-pointers and he can get you some peripherals with the defense, he is definitely a solid play here. Indiana allowed 37 fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards in the previous 3 games. Grayson Allen of Milwaukee put up 19 and 4. Dwayne Robinson of Miami 14, 5 and 2, and Dinwiddie was the big one, 36, 6 and 9. So they haven't faced a whole lot of guys other than Dinwiddie that is pretty good offensively, and now they got to face Fred VanVleet, who is one of the key components to the offense for Toronto. So I do like Fred here a whole lot. We'll come back and discuss in a little bit some more options at shooting guard. At small forward, at the top, we have Giannis, who could be small forward, power forward eligible. But I'm going to come down, and we'll discuss some of those other guys a little bit later. I'm going to pay down a little bit here because I'm going to pay up on the other 2 spots a bit more. Kelly Oubre Jr. for Charlotte, 5,700. No Rozier. He is definitely out. You need about 27 to meet value. He's putting up 16, almost 17 points per game from the floor, 6 rebounds and an assist. He had a nice game, just missed a double-double. Almost had 2 double-doubles in a row, even though he only scored 9 against Brooklyn. He put up a 32 spot, 33. He is good for 40 points when he's burying his threes. And if he's going to continue to take more than enough shots, he's going to be fine. He can bring you the rebounds and steals. Obviously, defensively, he could be pretty good at times. He also could be a little careless with his turnovers, and he could also be careless with fouls. As long as he doesn't commit major personal fouls, he should be okay. We're going to need the rebounds and the scoring. Last 3 games versus Orlando, he put up 46.9, 34, and 35. And he played on average 34 minutes in those games with a 22% usage rate. He took 15 shots on average on those 3 games, as well as 6 from 3 on average. And he put up 21 points per game average against this team in his last 3 outings. This is a good matchup for him against Orlando. He's going to get a start. He's going to play more than enough minutes. Orlando has been allowing 43.6 fantasy points per game to opposing small forwards, which is 11th in the league at this present time, and 7th, even worse. They've given up the 7th most points per game to opposing small forwards at 25.4 points per game. So this is a chance for Kelly. If he could knock down the threes, get involved in offense early, at his price tag, he should be able to meet 5. He could possibly give us, I definitely think he could give us almost 7x here. All right. So Kelly Oubre in play for me. This team also has given up, just to give you a little bit more information, Orlando gave up 15-4-2 to Keldon Johnson of San Antonio, 18-2-3 to Fournier of the Knicks, and 36 points with 3 rebounds and 2 assists to Jimmy Butler. So, he's in that position there where a Fournier or something like that as far as being able to put up those kind of numbers. So Kelly Oubre in play for me as small forward. Power forward, we have Giannis at the top. Now, I am definitely on Giannis, and I'll discuss him a little bit more when we come back in a moment. But coming down, we're going to go back. This is the 3rd time this year I'm selecting Domantas Sabonis. Good matchup here. Sabonis is pretty consistent. So for those guys who are cash play players, I'm a GPP player, but he has such a good upside. I think he has an opportunity here to put up a 55-60 at this price tag. But he is pretty solid for cash play players. He is priced about where he should be for the numbers he's been putting up, 47 fantasy points, averaging about close to 25 points, 12 rebounds, 4.5 assists. He's definitely a guy who could get you a double-double. He's a rebound machine, 21-13, 17-12. He had a 33-15 against Charlotte early in the year. He is pretty solid, man. This year he's shooting 63% from the floor, 40% from 3, so he's been absolutely fantastic for Indianapolis. Last 3 games, 27 minutes, 20% usage rate, taking 15 shots a game. That's this year in the last 3 games. His last game versus Toronto, he put up a 54.7 fantasy points in that game. Played 38 minutes, had a usage rate of 25%, taking 18 shots in that game. This is a good matchup up front versus Toronto. I don't know where Toronto's going to stop him. Toronto has been really, really disastrous up front. Toronto's allowed 47.8 fantasy points per game to opposing power forwards, 17 points per game from the floor. They have given up 11 points, 15 rebounds, and 3 assists to Kyle Kuzma. Tatum put up 18, 6, and 4. Finney Smith, 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. Now they got to go up against Domantas Sabonis, who's a rebounding monster. Toronto, 4th worst rebounding team in the NBA thus far, allowing 13 rebounds per game. And he is a guy who's averaging 12 rebounds a game. Probably a good night also for price pick players, including myself, to maybe consider if he is at around 11 or 12 rebounds that he'll be able to get more than 12. It's a good possibility. All right, we go over to center. And at center, at the top, we have Karl Anthony Towns. Obviously, I will have some exposure to Karl Anthony Towns. I love the matchup. We're going to come down and save a little bit of money here, and we're going to go with J Val. Jonas Valanciunas has been on fire, and if anybody's been with me since I started doing videos back in 2019, as you know, I took all of last year off. I haven't done videos since late December of NBA of 2019, just before everything went crazy. But nonetheless, I always preached about how much I like this guy if he plays minutes. When he was with Toronto, he had a couple injuries. Every time he came back, they never really played him a whole lot of minutes. He definitely has capabilities of putting up double-doubles every single night. He brings the physicality. He can shoot from the free throw line very, very well. And on top of that, he is, he brings the blocking and the steals. His defense is darn good. So he's at 7,500, 17 points, 15 rebounds. It's pretty much averaging almost a double-double every night. Last 2 games have been horrible. Have been fantastic, not horrible. 39 minutes, 22 and 23 rebounds the other day. 3 assists, 2 blocks, 59 spot, 54 spot. He can definitely give you 50 or better almost every single night. His price tag hasn't gone up a whole lot, but when this price tag gets over 8, he's still, to me, for at least the way he's been playing the last 2 games, he is still a good value at 7,500. With 50, almost 60-point upside, you cannot go wrong with this man. He's been shooting 41% from the floor, and he hasn't missed from the free throw line, 10 of 10. He's taking 11 to 12 shots a game on average, and his usage rate is at 22% at the moment. Last game versus Atlanta, he put up a 42 spot with 19 points, 11 rebounds, and a block. Okay, Atlanta is coming in here allowing 43.6 fantasy points per game to opposing centers and just only 14 points per game But that will change here tonight, and the more the reasons why is because they haven't really faced a dominant, physical, well-polished center that can rebound, that can pass the ball, that can shoot, that if he gets onto the foul line, he's going to hit his free throws. They're getting a different animal here. They faced KP, who only put up 11 and 5. Jalen Allen of Cleveland put up 11 points and 14 rebounds. Ian Stewart of Detroit put up, Isaiah Stewart from Detroit put up 13, 7, and 5. They haven't seen a solid guy. Tonight they will. So J-Val is in play for me at center. We'll stay right here at center instead of going back. Some of the options that I like at center, obviously I already mentioned Karl Anthony Towns at 10-9. You need about 54 to meet value. Milwaukee's allowing 25 points per game to opposing centers. So they continue to have their struggles there, allowing 56 fantasy points per game. That's about his ballpark. I think because he has 70-point upside, he is definitely someone in consideration. He's on my player pool, and I will have exposure to him. I'm being totally honest with you. I think it's a great matchup. Other than Karl Anthony Towns and Jonas Valanciunas, you can come down. I do like Jared Allen a little bit here. His price tag is up at $7,500. I do like the matchup against Zubac. And granted, you could also even go with Mobley here, the rookie for Cleveland. I think this tandem of Allen and Mobley is going to be pretty tough for Cleveland. They already have shown it. It just beat Denver the other night. But Jared Allen at $7,500 is definitely an option. I like the matchup against Zubac. Clippers have been giving up 21.2 points per game from the floor to opposing centers. And the young man is probably averaging what he's averaging. He's averaging 17 points thus far. I think he's definitely someone you can consider put in your player pool. Another guy that's in play for me is Deandre Ayton against Sacramento. We know Sacramento struggles up front sometimes with big guys. And Deandre Ayton here at 6,600. You only need 34 fantasy points from him. Very much doable if he gets the minutes. Sacramento's been allowing 61 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. That is big. He's definitely somebody you got to consider at this price tag. He's capable of getting you 35, 40. At 68, like I said, I think he needs to get over that 40-point barrier fantasy point total for be a good play. I think he has a shot here. Other than that, I did mention Mobley. I think considering the Cleveland guys, I think up front you guys can go that way. Other than that, Precious Achiuwa is still in play for me. I played him the other night. I gave you guys him as a selection. He came through with a fairly decent game. 4,900, can't go wrong with him as well. I mean, he's getting a double-double. He's had 3 double-doubles in a row. He's playing over 28 minutes over the course of the last 2 games, averaging pretty much close to a point per minute. He is not that bad of a play at 4,900 going up against Indiana. I wouldn't mind going to a little bit of Achiuwa here. Bobby Portis is something to watch out here. He's been still a game-time decision for a little while, but Bobby Portis is able to play. He's definitely someone you got to consider. 4,800, capable. You need 24 there. He's capable of getting you 20 or better if he plays 20 minutes or more. But that's the whole thing. Will he play? Will he start? Will he play more than 20 minutes? It's a tough go, but he is someone you can consider if you wanted to and pay down. Derek Favors at 3,900. If he restarts again for OKC, plays 15 or 20 minutes. He's a good point per minute player, brings that physicality. And I think that is it at center. Now let's go back to point guard. And like I said, at point guard at the beginning, man, Westbrook is in play. Now, granted, if Anthony Davis plays, then I will be probably fading a lot more Westbrook. So that is not set in stone. One guy that's for sure that really stands out tonight, as far, I think first things first. I skipped one. There's 2 guys here that I like. I do like Moran. I do like Young. Don't know how much exposure I'm going to have to either one of the 2. I think if I play the late 9 games, Morant will be in play for me. I will discuss him a little bit more on possibly a game stack. Trae Young, 9,000. That's a low price tag for Trae Young. Now, granted, he hasn't had to put up huge numbers. That team is kind of balanced. Atlanta, they got a lot of guys that can score, so he doesn't have to depend. They don't have to depend on Trae to do all the work. But at 9,000, he could be someone you can jump on the game against New Orleans here at 9,000. So Trae Young is an option for you guys if you wanted to. Obviously, when it comes down over here a little lower at 8,200, LaMelo Ball with what he brings to the table at 8,200, his price tag still is about where he should be at 41 fantasy points he needs here. He's been averaging close to 43. He's capable of getting you 50. He has 50-point upside because he has double-double, triple-double upside. So he is definitely someone considered. But the key guy here for me, Damian Lillard, 8,200. When are you going to ever get Damian Lillard for 8,200 against Memphis? A high-paced game, high-scoring game, playing at home where he can eventually get hot. He's been horrific all year long, only averaging 30.6 fantasy points per game with 50, 60-point upside. This guy's got upside through the roof if he can bury his shot. His shots have not been going down. But I'm willing to take a whole chunk of Damian Lillard today, to be totally honest with you, for that price tag. He's actually cheaper, and you won't believe it, cheaper than C.J. McCollum, who was at 8,500. So if you ask me to take either one of the two in this matchup against Memphis, obviously if I'm game stacking, I'm going to take both guys. But if I had to make a selection, I would have to take Damian Lillard here. So Damian Lillard, 8,200, you cannot pass him up. You know, he only needs 41 here. Like I said, I do like Ja Morant in the same matchup against Lillard. I think Chris Paul is someone you can consider too at 8,000. Price tag a little up. I prefer Paul to be at 75, 76. So this is about right for him, but good matchup against Sacramento. Another paced up game. And Paul sometimes have a tendency of really lighting it up, usually almost every other game. So I can see this being a game that you can definitely target Chris Paul. Other than Chris Paul down here, SGA, obviously another matchup again. He's going up against the Lakers. The Lakers are the worst team defending point guards. As you can see last night, they gave up a ton I drew a blank now, to Murray, which I gave you guys in yesterday's video. So Alexander is not in the same position as Murray is with San Antonio, but he's going to get the minutes. He's going to take shots. He is one of the integral parts of this team as far as offensively, and the Lakers struggling the way they have. He doesn't have to put up a 50, 60 spot. For this price here, if he can get you 40 to 45, that will be ideal at 7,100. You only need 35. So I think that he is definitely someone you can consider here as well. Other than that, Halliburton could be an option. I do like Devontae Graham here, a little bit scoring dependent, but Devontae Graham at 5,800 in this game against Atlanta, could be a game that he could have a breakout. He obviously needs to hit his threes and hit his shots more consistently, but at 5,800, I think that he's someone that's viable. I do like DeAnthony Milton, and I like this Memphis-Portland game today as well. 5,500 for him. He's been putting up huge numbers, averaging close to 30 fantasy points per game. Is capable of getting a 40 spot. So Melton is definitely in play for me. And that you want to pay down a little bit, get 20, 25 minutes out of George Hill. It's an option. I'm not high on it, but he is someone who's starting. And that is about it. Yeah, that's about it. All right, so that's the point guard spot. Let's go over the shooting guard. So at shooting guard, Paul George is definitely in play. Love the matchup against Cleveland. 10,500. You need about 52 to me value out of the three up here at the top. I like George the most. Harden still hasn't found his shot just yet. So I'm not really too high in this game against Miami. Miami is definitely always tough defensively, slows down the game for Brooklyn. So it's going to be a challenge for him. Jimmy Butler, same thing. But if I was to choose either one, I'd rather pay down and pay the $1,100 cheaper for Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler has a chance to put up 40, 45 more so than Harden. But, in the matchup, just simply because of defense. But Paul George, I think, is definitely in play against Cleveland. And Jaylen Brown is always someone to consider. Yes. So... Tyler Hero's up there in price. I don't know about that. Halliburton could be one at 6,000. You need, 30. I think he can do that in a game like this. I already mentioned Graham. I think he's in play. Desmond Bane definitely at 5,800. Love these Memphis young guys. Bane is in play for me. Josh Giddey, definitely someone you got to consider at 5,700. Starting to be a big part of the OKC offense with that young team. And DeAnthony Milton, I already mentioned. You got Suggs there. He's up there in price at 5,300 already. Kevin Huerter is someone to watch out. If Hunter is out, Huerter is definitely more than likely going to start. He's done it in the past, so he might be someone to get in here and squeeze in at 4,600, who has, legitimately can get you 25. And Patty Mills is always dangerous off the bench, which I mentioned in the previous videos. Malik Monk, obviously, if James is out, or AD, or both, Malik Monk becomes one of those guys you got to definitely target for the Lakers. All right, let's go over to small forward. At small forward, we got Giannis at the top. He is definitely in play for me. I'm willing to put him in some of my lineups. I like the matchup against Minnesota. This is going to be a little bit of a battle of the big stars in Towns and Giannis, so I definitely like that game. I already told you I like Paul George for a small forward spot. Jason Tatum is always a bit dangerous. He's at priced just about right against Washington. You never know when he could go off, or either Jaylen Brown, but you could go there. I could see it going there, maybe more Tatum than Brown. Bobby Ingram, I don't know. Go to Kyle Kuzma at 6,200. Like this here simply because Boston has had their issues. So Kyle Kuzma is in play. Yeah, Kuz will be in play for me. Would prefer him as a power forward, though. I guess we'll get back to that. Kelly Oubre, obviously, you guys, Chris Duarte, you could definitely consider that. He plays a lot of minutes. He pretty much shoots the hell out of the ball. If he gets hot, it could be dangerous. Scotty Barnes, the other rookie, 5,300, is an option. Carmelo Anthony is another big option, 52. His price is coming up, but you need 26. If there's no LeBron and no AD tonight, then Carmelo Anthony is in play. He's definitely someone you got to consider in this matchup. He's going to take tons of shots. He's going to get more opportunities. He's going to have to help out with Russell Westbrook. So keep an eye on that news between AD and LeBron James. And Gary Trent, again, Herder, you could play him here as small forward if you wanted to instead of shooting guard. He has that eligibility. I don't see anybody else here that I feel that you could just throw in there. So that ends that. At power forward, at the top, again, Giannis, I already mentioned. I'm on board with him for tonight. Domantas Sabonis is my guy. You could take a look and take a stab at Tatum, but I don't think you need to go there. Jared Allen, I already told you, power forward center. I kind of like him there. Mobley, same thing. I don't know about John Collins. Maybe if you stack up Atlanta, New Orleans, you can throw in a John Collins. Kyle Kuzma, 6,200. I already mentioned him, and I like Kyle Kuzma because Boston right now is giving up 54 fantasy points per game to opposing power forwards and 30 points per game from the floor, as well as 12 rebounds per game to opposing power forwards. So, and Kuz has been just rebounding the hell out of the ball for Washington, and that's what he needs to do. So I do like Kyle Kuzma there. The only Paulie Washington guy that I do like today at 6,100, needing 31. Scotty Barnes, I already mentioned him as well. And yeah, Carmelo Anthony, I already mentioned as well. Precious Achua, mentioned him when I said the centers. Yeah, that's, I don't know. There's nobody else. Grant Williams, possibly at 4,500 if he plays 25 plus minutes. Wouldn't mind him at all as far as on the player pool. You have to dig in a little bit deeper. Derek Favors could be a very cheap punt play, 3,900. You only need 19. He's a point per minute guy. If he gets more than 20, 25 minutes, he might be able to meet value there. And that's it, man. That is it. That is pretty much it, folks. So the key guys that I'm looking at, which I mentioned already, Westbrook, Van Fleet, Oubre, Sabonis, and Valanciunas are my key guys. Obviously, if LeBron and if AD happens to play and LeBron is playing, then Westbrook is out. Then I will definitely pivot over for more with Damian Lillard. So that's where I'm pretty much at, man. Let's go over a couple of game stacks, all right? Just in case those who like to game stack. So I'm looking at a couple games. The first game I'm looking at, and I'm just going to pop into it, and that's the Memphis-Portland game. I like also playing late game hammer games, late games, just because you want to have some exposure to some of the players. So if you make a lineup for this main with this team in mind, these are the kind of guys that I think you could definitely punch in there with the prices. As you can see, you can definitely get Morant, McCollum, Lillard, and you can either go with Nurkic or Adams, whatever one you want. And then I would think you roll it back also with, I'll say right now, my top three guys with the Memphis team will be Morant, Bane, and Melton. I like those three the most. You could pivot to any one of the Bane or Melton with a Baisley, but I prefer the backcourt of Memphis as opposed to their front court. And if you wanted to, a low someone who will probably obviously be low price and low owned. I mean, not low price, but low owned will probably be the center, Adams. But I'm not high on Adams. I would prefer maybe Nurkic. And when it comes to Portland, I would probably go Lillard, CJ, and Nurkic, or just Lillard and CJ. So you can basically get 4 to as much as 6 players out of this as a game stack. So I like that. I think that's a game that you can definitely target. It is 234 implied total with Portland favored by 2. So it should be a fairly close game. I think it's going to be a competitive game if Portland comes to play, because Memphis has been playing. So Memphis is going to be tough. It's up to Portland to step up. If they can do that at home, this could be a very entertaining game, and it could be a game that we can get a lot of fantasy points from, especially from Bane, Melton, and Ja. So that'll be interesting. Another game that I do like is, as a possible game stack, and I mentioned Trae Young before, is this game between Atlanta and New Orleans. You got Trae Young here at 9,000, good for 45.50, right? You could pencil in there Brandon Ingram. You could get Jay Val in there. You can get in there Collins. You can throw in there either an Alexander Walker with a Graham. You can get 5 to 6 players out of this matchup here and still have about $5,000 to $6,000 to play with to get value somewhere else. So I think Atlanta, New Orleans is an option as well. We have a 219.5 implied total right now with Atlanta favored by 6. So if New Orleans can keep it close here at home, it could be pretty entertaining. The last game I'm going to discuss is the OKC LA Laker game. And the only reason I would say OKC LA Laker game, and that's only if AD is really out. Then it's going to be LeBron and Westbrook with everybody else in the Laker uniform going up against OKC's young bloods. And if that's going to be the case, then you got to consider, LeBron. You got to consider Westbrook. Those two hands down. Maybe a Carmelo Anthony. Maybe a Malik Monk if he's still going to get the time. But for OKC, you got to go SGA. You got to go Giddey and possibly Baisley or Dort. Really mix it up. You can even go all the way down to like a Favors. But there is an opportunity there. These two teams, with as far as price is concerned, even though you got the two most expensive guys, is if you only had to deal with one of them, then you just go James and Westbrook, and then you just throw the other 3. So I think that's my third option. My very first option stack will be Memphis Portland, because I think that's the biggest game of the night, as the highest implied total is going to be competitive as a small spread. And I can see where these guys could probably battle it out. But Damian Lillard is going to have a game, He's going to have to play well. So we'll see how that pans out. Other than that, that's basically it, folks, man. So I hope you like this format of how I'm doing it. Let me know down below if you watch the entire video, if you like the way I'm doing it this way. I plan to soon put all this stuff like on a spreadsheet like I used to do before. And, I'm working on it, and then be able to show and go over everything over the spreadsheet as opposed to just strictly on Fanduel. So, but nonetheless, let me know what you think, man. Drop a like. Let me know what you think of tonight's slate, who you like. Do you like any of the game stacks I mentioned, so on and so forth. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And, of course, don't forget to put on the notification bell. Good luck tonight. Let's make a lot of money. And I'll see you guys on the next video, man. Peace out.